Thank you for tuning in today to another episode here at Airbnb Rental Empire. I really appreciate it. If you guys have not already subscribed, please hit the subscription, and also please like these videos so that I can keep it coming and give you guys more information to help you build your Airbnb portfolio. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is something that is very important. Now, this is something that I've been seeing a lot of recently, and this is VRBO scams. A lot of you guys are on Airbnb and VRBOs, such as I am. And lately, it's just become a hotbed of people trying to run scams on you using stolen credit cards and things similar such as that. That is going to basically, in the end, all it's going to lead to is you not getting paid and you possibly losing your credit card processing ability. So let me explain first why you're at risk. The reason you are at risk is because VRBO is different than Airbnb. Airbnb acts as an escrow when they take a booking. So if they take a booking, the Airbnb processes that credit card, the person makes the payment, and Airbnb holds those funds, and then they release it to you technically at midnight on the day of the booking, although there's sometimes a lag in that. With VRBO, it's different because they don't escrow the funds and you're responsible for it. So in my situation, I use property management software, so I use Stripe to process my credit card payments. But if you're not on property management software, you're going to probably use VRBO's internal credit card processing. Now, with that, you're still responsible to check IDs, make sure that the transaction is legitimate. They leave that up to you as the host, versus in Airbnb's case where they do all of that verification for you and they're going to guarantee the payment if they allow the booking to go through. So now this has been an issue in the past because actually I've been using Stripe for a while, but I actually got dropped off of Stripe temporarily for about, 6 months to a year. Stripe dropped me because people had done credit card transactions where it wasn't their card, so they were using fraudulent credit cards, stolen credit cards, and booking my properties, and then I was getting a charge back from the original card owner. Now, I tightened up my security on this quite a bit. I mean, I was really paranoid about it because I wanted to get my Stripe processing ability back, which I did. And now that I got it back, I tightened up the bolts, like I said, in terms of asking for identification, asking for ID, confirming that the owner of the card matches the booking name on the reservation. And so I have looked for that personally, and then I've also taught my team that. But lately, I had another one get through, unfortunately. I just had one about a week ago where they got through with about a $2,500 charge. And now when I'm looking back on it and I went through and studied all the documents, it's clearly a scam, and I'm not even going to be able to fight this one. So what they're doing now, previously what they were doing is they would just try to make a booking 1 to 2 days before, typically. Sometimes maybe it was 3 days before, and they would try to make a booking, and they would use a credit card that wasn't theirs. So if let's say the name was Joe Blow on the booking, oftentimes it was a red flag right away. You could see it. Okay, if you looked at the actual credit card transaction, the card holder was a totally different name, Teresa Williams or whatever, some other name that I'm just coming up with. And so you could, if you were on top of it, you would catch that right away, and then you would say, okay, this name doesn't match. What's the scenario here? And you can ask them for verification, ask them for a copy of the ID to match the card holder, etc. But basically, I stopped taking those reservations overall if the name on the booking does not at least match the last name, because maybe you have a husband-wife situation, a brother, something like that, where the name on the booking and the name that it's being paid with is a little bit different. But as long as the last name matches, I'm okay with it. But if it's a completely different name, I won't even take those bookings. But what happened now is the person made the booking. There was actually some payment issues. They actually made the booking now in advance. They made the booking like 3 weeks before. The payment didn't go through. It kept getting declined. And my team actually didn't even think anything of it. Unfortunately, I hadn't done a good job training them. I take full responsibility for that. They did not see on that original payment that the name and the name on the card and the name on the booking did not match, because typically I had taught them that only on short notice bookings to be worried about it, but this was done like 3 weeks before. So anyways, as we got closer to the reservation, then I noticed that the payment still had not gone through again. And then I looked into it and I told my team, I didn't think anything of it myself. I didn't think that it was a scam because, again, it came way before the booking. And so most of the time, if they have a stolen credit card, they're going to do that on very short notice because they don't want the card holder to catch wind of the fact that they're using, the other person's card. So in this case, just like a couple days before then, they said, oh, I'm having a little bit of issue with my bank. There's a fraud protection on it, which is not unusual because cards do get declined by the owner's bank quite often, because it's such a large charge typically for a VRBO booking that their credit card processor, Visa or MasterCard or Amex or whatever it is, they're not accustomed to processing such a large payment. So sometimes they'll have a fraud protection on there, and then they'll have to call the bank, the customer will have to call the bank and release that. So I didn't think anything of it. Then my team is on it. They're the ones handling it. I was actually out of town at the time, so I didn't have a personal, I wasn't fully vested in it, unfortunately, and looking at it myself. But nevertheless, then they changed the credit card, and then my team knew to ask for an ID to match the card. They provided an ID, so my team didn't think anything of it. And then after the booking, now I got a charge back, and now I went back and looked at all the documentation and the ID that they provided. So we asked for an ID, and within 30 minutes, they produced an ID. And the ID, just to me, once I knew, and once the charge had been charged back, it was a fake ID. Basically, they had done a Photoshop job on it. They had changed the name. It was a legitimate ID, some foreign ID. It was from Italy, actually. They changed the name, changed the birthday, and made it look to match the card holder, and unfortunately it didn't. Now, in a case like this, I'm going to submit the dispute to Stripe, because I did do everything that I needed to on my end in terms of checking the documentation, etc. I can't say I did everything, because obviously I didn't check the ID good enough that it was able to go through. But this is something that, this is them taking their scams to another level. This is not something they had done before. Basically, before, they were all short notice bookings. And then, you maybe had maximum 3 days to the booking. It was usually 1 day before, and you could just see that the card and the name did not match. But now they're privy to that people are catching on to that. And now they're even doing these ID jobs where they're doing a quick Photoshop job and doing this on the fly, because I don't think he was expecting me to ask him for that. And then there was just a slight delay. They threw this thing together from their IT department, or whatever the hell they have. And they gave us the documentation that we asked. And then even during the booking, they were in constant communication, asking, oh, how do we work the TV, etc., which is also unusual. Usually the people that are scammers, they lay super low, and then they only stay for like a day or two. These people stayed for, I believe, 4 days, and it cost me about $2,500. And in addition, this is going to hurt my ranking with Stripe, because the credit card company, your credit card processor, views this very negatively. So this is something that you want to avoid at all costs. And it's also something that is making me even more bullish on Airbnb versus VRBO. I love VRBO. I'm going to do another video showing the pros and cons of Airbnb versus VRBO and what are the differences. And also, how many bookings, what percentage of bookings do I get from each platform? But this is something that drives me even more to Airbnb, because now I have to worry about, I need to have a fraud detection department, on my team, basically, which I already do, and I'm already, I do a lot of screening of guests anyways, but again, it's just another layer that I don't want to have to deal with. And then there's the added layer of risk of, not only do I lose the $2,500 in this case, but I also lose my good standing with Stripe, which could again lead me to lose my ability to process credit cards with them, which is going to be a real pain in the butt if that happens. So these are the kind of things that once you've been doing this a long time and you dive into the weeds, you can figure these things out and you can learn from them. But that's why I want to show you guys the issues that I've run into, so that you guys can hopefully prevent this from happening. And I don't want anybody to get frauded out there like I did with this VRBO scam. It's inevitable that people are going to try this stuff, but the more you're aware of it, the better you're going to be able to do to defend yourself on it. Now, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'm always trying to give you guys the great content here at Airbnb Rental Empire. This is real world. This is present day. This is exactly what's happening right now in the first week of November 2022. So be aware of it. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do. Thank you very much for watching.